Kuzambo and welcome to People's Voice. We are suffering from a bit of technical difficulties here, so can't get the cue properly. Anyways, welcome to People's Voice. While we start this program, the topic for tonight's discussion is, since today is International Day of Democracy, the theme for this year's International Day of Democracy is strengthening voices for democracy. So keeping this theme in mind, we thought we'll invite guests to discuss and share views on this. How important is it to collect the views and opinions of our rural electorates, not just rural, urban electorates as well. So to discuss this, I have from Bhutan Kinyam Party, I have Honorable President Sonam Topge, and from the opposition party, I have Mr. Rinzin Jamso, Honorable Member of Parliament, and Honorable Foreign Minister Mr. Rinzin Doji, who will be representing People's Democratic Party or the ruling party, and finally I have Mr. Nimatsring, who is representing Dzongkha Chokbala. And also I have a young group of audience here who did not really choose to speak during the Dzongkha session, but are raring to speak now for our English session. So with this, we would like to move ahead. But before that, I'd like to also remind our viewers that we keep the phone lines open. Be specific to the topic that we have chosen for discussion, as you always used to do. So callers, please participate in this program through telephone calls. Your voices need to be heard as well. Let me start by asking Honorable Foreign Minister. So what do you think when we talk about strengthening people's voices, strengthening voices for democracy? Do we need to strengthen, or do our people now, after second round of elections, understand what democracy is all about and that their voices are important to be heard? What do you feel, sir?
Thank you, Dawa. Before I get to the point, just to give you a small note on democracy. Democracy per se cannot be imposed on any nation from the outside. Each society must actually search for its own path, rooted in the culture of its people and in its past tradition. As far as I see, and as far as Bhutan is concerned, democracy is not actually new. It has been there for many, many years. And we cannot also deny the fact that we did not have any experience in democracy. But democracy actually took its real shape in 2008. And it is at the moment too premature for me to even gauge that democracy has taken deep roots. By the blessings of His Majesty, both His Majesty, the kings, we have had the opportunity to understand better what democracy is meant in true sense of the term in Bhutan. For us, actually, we have been fortunate that we never had the requirement or the privilege to look at democracies outside. So in that sense, what has actually happened in Bhutan is that democracy has grown in Bhutan and it is growing in Bhutan. And that's the reason why it's unique. And within last 5 years, since the democracy actually happened, people were quite impatient and they really understood what democracy is. That's why when they voted in the 2000 round election, the turnout was very good. It was around 70% plus. And that really goes to say that people did understand democracy. And that was the reason why people chose deputy in the first election with vast majority. In the second round of elections, people became more matured. That's the reason why there was change in government. The change actually means democracy. Because if people do not understand democracy, they would not have looked for change, they would not have aspired for change. So in that sense, the PDP believe, and the ruling government for the matter believe, people have been able to voice their mind, and people have been able to project what they want for themselves.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Injam, sir, what do you think? Voices of the people should not, as we keep saying these few days, in any program. I've had guests who used to say, role of people or electorates do not end after elections. But then, can their voices limit only to the elections, or their responsibilities of sharing their voices start after the elections? Raising their voices would sound a little revolutionary, but sharing their voices, what do you say?
Thank you, Dawa. I think it's very important that from our side, I must tell you that it is very important to listen to the voices of the people. It is very important, and it is an integral part of the democracy. Democracy is all about for the people and by the people, and ultimately listening to their voices, be it grievances or be it good things, be it constructive or whatever. Listening to that is very important. And on this occasion, on this special occasion, I would like to take this opportunity of thanking all the supporters of Deputy for having mandated first 5 years for electing us as the first democratically elected government. And through them, we have laid all the conducive environment for people to voice out. Should there have been any occasions where their voices were left out, and this time we are mandated to become the opposition party, we will make sure in our endeavor to listen to their voices from whichever sections of society. We will ensure that their voices are heard.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Somdoki, as discussed in our Dzongkha session, it's very important that people share their voices for active participation in any process that is being undertaken by government or the opposition of the day. But while you assume this responsibility of sharing voices, people also need to be cognizant of the fact that rule of law must prevail at its best. Is this happening? Because for some time, there were instances where people thought democracy is all about power, is all about rights, not about responsibilities. Is this attitude changing?
I think we must not confuse the process of elections vis-a-vis a successful democracy. Elections are only one part of the democratization process. If I'm to interpret it in my way, you would require a successful election, you would require an educated electorate, you would require strong constitutional bodies, you would require strong enforcement of rule of law, as you just mentioned, you would require an independent and free media. So there are various components of having a successful democracy, so to speak. Now, to mark the International Day of Democracy on September 15th, I really congratulate and commend BBS for joining the global community to mark this important day, because we owe this truly, and I say truly, to our beloved monarchs in terms of Bhutan being really blessed for having this gift given to us, no other than from the throne. Now, this gift should not just be treasured as a gift, but utilized responsibly in furthering the cause and the fruiting of democracy. It is not just democracy that we are pursuing the fruits of democracy. What can democracy bring about to Bhutan, to the Bhutanese citizens? Democracy should not breed inequality. Democracy should not breed corruption. Democracy should breed good governance. Democracy should breed accountability. Democracy should bring about development. Democracy should bring about GNH, if you will. So therefore, we have to really pursue what can democracy bring us, or what can democracy give us in the next 10, 15, 20 years down the line. So for that, it is of critical importance for all of us to recollect and also to apply the wisdom of our benevolent monarchs and our forefathers, and the wisdom in terms of how best they govern the country, and how best can we now further take on this responsibility of democracy here on, thereafter, in terms of development. But for that, you need a lot of people empowerment. And when I say people empowerment, you need to have a lot of capacity building at the grassroots, within the bureaucracy, within the media, within the rule of law, within constitutional bodies. So if we have all those elements, components in harmony and in good synergy, we will certainly achieve the fruits of democracy sooner rather than later.
Okay. Mr. Nyumasring, now, since you have also joined this political fray through the institution of Druk Nyamrup Tsokpa as a political party, what kind of role do you see you and your party playing hereafter? Because democracy, in a democratic setup, sharing voices just do not limit to those elected representatives of the people. It means that everybody has a voice. In most of the democratic setup outside, in a larger democracy, the problem is that you are not really heard in a crowd because your voices are so weak. That's why you are not heard. But here, because of our sheer size, I think a small size, we have better chances of being heard. So what kind of role are you going to play?
Druk Nyamrup Tsokpa ran on the platform that every voice counts, every vote counts, and we should move forward in our progress for the nation together. In this light, we strongly believed, and still believes that doing things in Nyamrup spirit is the best way to do in the long run. Dawa, you mentioned about sometimes the weakest voice may not be heard, but you also remember that sometimes they say the wisest speak the least. So in this context, I think it's very important for our leaders, for our elected leaders, especially in the democratic setup, that you listen not only to the spoken voice, but to the unspoken voice. One of the qualities of a true leader, I strongly believe, is your listening power. Like you mentioned, if you go in the crowd, sometimes there may be a few very vocal, but you look around in the faces, they'll be swallowing like saliva, they'll be thinking, which means they're thinking inside, they want to say something, they may not be able to speak, and it is the responsibility of the leaders and the political parties to create an avenue. Some like to speak in the crowd, some like to speak in private. So I think it's important that we listen to both the spoken voices and unspoken voices, because ours is a very small society, as Dawa you mentioned, very small society, 700,000. It's the size of a company, international company, so I think it's possible if you think from that perspective.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from the audience would like to share anything? Because as Mr. Nyumasring said, you choose to remain so wise by speaking least. Okay, sir. Yes. And after that, we'll take a call.
As a member of the audience, I'll use my liberty to samchar Chaten tonight. Firstly, I would like to express my take on today's celebration. I think this is not just voice per se. It's about democratic culture, the new culture, democratic culture coming into our society, which is quite new, relatively. And this voice, as Nima indicated, whether sometimes it may be muffled, sometimes it may be liberated, but there are a lot of voices which requires platform, and it requires help of people like all of you sitting here on the platform. These voices are in the form of farmers, they're in the form of civil servants, they're in the form of corporate workers. Sometimes, what I'm trying to say, sometimes their voices are not heard, and some of the reasons, it could be that the leadership density, the power densities are not equally distributed as desired. And those are some of the reasons I would like to, that's how I understand today's celebration today. And I would like to end my opinion by asking a question to the two gentlemen representing Kinyam and Nyamrup. Because example should be shown by the leaders. How far are you guys being consulted? Or are there a channel of communication between, because there are new parties. Here's the ruling and here's the opposition. Is there a well-established channel of communication among the four parties, or to and fro from the ruling and the opposition?
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Kunyam first.
I think Karma raised a very important point whereby the engagement of all political parties in the democratization process is of essential importance to mark a successful democracy. Now, if political parties are just there for elections and then they hibernate and political apathy kicks in for the next 4 years and only restarts or rekindles on the 5th year, then in terms of sustainability it's going to be very difficult, both in terms of interests and both in terms of passion and supporters, the support base. Well, on the other hand, I think it is desirable, I've been also repeatedly saying this even in my last visit here, that new political parties should also be equally involved and engaged with both the ruling and the opposition. In fact, I received a call from the Honorable PM's office over the weekend saying that there may be an audience for all new political parties at the Raven House coming Wednesday, whereby I'd like to appeal to the Prime Minister, informing that make use of us in terms of the whole democratization process. We have a lot of resource, we have a lot of certain amount of experience, certain amount of support, and how best can we all unite as a nation, because we're all new in this democratic culture, as Karma just mentioned, and there may be a lot of strengths and weaknesses that we all share. So it is always better to engage and involve new political parties in public discourse, in dialogue, in policy decision making, in consultation, so on and so forth. So I think it's of critical importance that the degree of engagement and involvement should be open.
Yes.
Now, having said this, I would like to before you pass on to Nima, to really crack tonight's topic on people's voices, to ensure a successful democracy and to ensure good governance, particularly, say, in this case, DPT and PDP, or PDP and DPT, ruling and opposition, people's voices should be expressed on a continuous basis, not just during the time of elections. It has to be a continuous basis for the next 5 years, to ensure that there is accountability, to ensure that there is good governance, to ensure that the pledges are being met, to ensure that people's needs are being addressed. Because this is what is democracy, in terms of empowerment, in terms of delivery, so on and so forth.
Yes, Mr. Nyam Singh, I'll come back to you. Before that, let's take our first call. Been waiting for some time. Hello.
Hello.
Sir, my sincere apologies for making you wait for so long, sir. Okay, sir. Your introduction and then anything that you would like to add to this discussion. Hello, sir.
Good evening. My name is Chikuduppa. I think today's discussion is on a very important subject, and I would like to take this opportunity to share some of my thoughts and experience. I think in democracy, empowering the people is very important, which means to draw the strength from the people. I think in Bhutan, what I've seen is our leaders, they don't trust much to our own people. And that's why I think, in my opinion, there are enough people in our country who are well educated. So I think we should trust them more and draw from these people. And I would also like to take the opportunity to send a few reminders to the people of Bhutan. The freedom of expression and thought is very much the constitutional right of the people. But in doing so, one should also remember that we cannot take the freedom of other people. And lastly, I would like to appeal to all the people of Bhutan that when we exercise our freedom, our constitutional rights, freedom of whatever, it should be done, I think, in the context of our social setup. Thank you, Lord.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Chekudukba, who used to be a regular visitor for this show. Thank you so much. And he always makes a point to get involved in this program somehow or the other. Mr. Nyimasring, your views on the question raised by Kamasa here.
Yes. We at Duk Nyamru Sopa believes that we are Buddhist first, and then comes the party. So just like any Buddhist, if you ask me, my allegiance is first to the king, the country, and the people. That's our sum. And then comes my allegiance to Duk Nyamru Sopa. So from that angle, after we did not go to the primary round, then I become a voter. I'm a citizen. So I voted for one of the party that went to general election as a Buddhist. So from that angle, both the ruling government and the opposition treat us as a Buddhist. At the party level, Duk Nyamru Sopa was formed in Nyamru spirit. We have a 2008. There were only two parties like DPT and PDP. So we have a people or supporter or voter from PDP. We also have a voter supporter from DPT. So we have a good personal courtesy relationship links with both the DPT and PDP. So that relation continues.
So your channel of communication is going to be consistent.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Okay, for the first time in this show, we are going to have a female voice.
Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really concerned about the job opportunities for the new generations here in Bhutan, especially I've seen a lot of urbanization here. There are a lot of people coming from the rural areas in Thimphu, and then they're all looking for jobs, well-paid jobs, and here they're really I think sad because they don't get really good jobs. All they get is interns. I just graduated from a college and it's been almost 2 months looking for a job, but I don't get it. Is it because there are no jobs available, or do you need to have 4 or 5 experience to get into a position where you like it? I really like to work as a social worker or a human worker or a social activist, but then to have to be in that to get a job like that is really it's really difficult. So what do you actually I don't want to say I don't like to target the minorities here, because I've seen a lot of people suffering without jobs or without education.
Can we put this question in a context where we have a discussion with particular topic tonight? That would be to say that employment opportunities are rare. Meaning we don't discuss employment opportunities per se. We had a show on employment last week or week before that. But today's discussion is about voices of the people. So let's say the voices of the young unemployed youths are not heard. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, that can be one of the questions.
Honorable Foreign Minister, let me put this to you.
This, in fact, is a very strong voice. That's the reason why the PDP, the current government, has pledged that we would ensure full employment. Because of the fact that there is a problem the party has seen during its inception, that if we do not look at this issue, the question of democracy would be at stake. You can see for yourself, while we would be digressing a bit from tonight's topic, but nonetheless it's so important. You might see for yourself that the PDP, immediately after it came to power, actually initiated and actually pledged within 100 days of its work in the office, would look at it very closely. That's the reason why we had initiated a Meet the People program. That's the time when we actually look at issues such as the one you raised. Also, the party has a very special wing, Youth and Women Wing. That's also a committee that would look into the problems of youth, including women.
Yes.
And also, the party has pledged that all of its members would make at least an effort to visit the constituencies 4 times a year. All of this put together is actually targeted towards listening to the people's voice.
Okay.
Because people's voice is the key to democracy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, if you don't mind, please stand so that you are seen better.
Good evening, sir. I'm Mugen Sonam, and today I'm happy to be here, and I thank for the Bhutan Broadcasting Service for the day of the democracy, 15th September, and I am being honored to be here, and I'm happy to be participating in this People's Voice. First of all, I ask 1-2 questions to any parties, either to Dukhisum Sopa or People Democratic Party or Nyamru or Kinyamla. So as far as I think, before so many years back, we are happy to be in the kingdom of the Bhutan, and from 2008, also we are happy to have our young democracy government, and now we are confused. So, okay, in the 2008, so our Dukhin Sopa scored the majority votes, and Dukhin Sopa is the ruling government. And again 5 years back, as our PDP got the majority vote and got the ruling for the country. So as I'm thinking, so wherever we go, wherever we travel around Bhutan, especially in the remote areas, everybody of our friends, as brothers, sisters, asking. So we have one nation, one people, and we have that policy since from so many years back. Again, why don't you have for the future? Whoever wins, whoever rule the government, or whoever be the opposition, why don't we have that one nation, one people in the same formula? So
Yes, sir.
if anybody.
Yes, thank you so much. I think maybe I'll put this to Mr. Rinjam, sir. I think the whole idea of one nation, one people would be understood as not playing divisive politics. Divisions are there already, and people are dividing themselves into political affiliations, and then they have brings in problems within the community, within the society. How do you understand this, or how can this be solved? Collective voice should be heard.
Well, first and foremost, I think before I answer to his question, I think if I may answer briefly the earlier question, is you were asking whether it's important to hear voice just only after elections or after. So I just would say that in a democracy, the democracy itself is just evolving. So I would say that it's not only up to the hearing voice, is not only up to elections, but I think it's important to go beyond also. Secondly, on the question of whether there are regular meetings and interactions with the political parties, I think it's very important. I think in future we could look, this is something that which we must look at seriously. If it is elsewhere in other countries like India and all, they have all parties meeting, although it is on issue base. So I think this is very important from our side. And even on that front, DPTs, when we were in the government, moment the new parties have come, we have made sure that we have had few interactions with the new political parties. Okay, coming back to the question of whether we can have a one nation, one people sort of principle, or I think everywhere the idea is basically, first and foremost, I think, in any democracy, what people wish is, I think, peace and stability. It is very important. And in this endeavor, in this regard only, when we were elected, we were mandated in 2008, DPT in the last 5 years have invested maximum of our time and resources in terms of, basically in terms of reconciliation.
Yes, sir.
And we have been very mindful in any steps, every step of our governance. And even being mindful of those, in our 2013 elections, we were very mindful in our manifestos and policies. And always we have been refraining from those type of policies, party policies and positions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a caller waiting. Hello, hola. Hello, hola.
Hello, la.
Okay, la. Ma'am, can we have your introduction first, la?
I'm Yang Zon from Phinseling, la.
Yes, sir.
In strengthening democracy, what is the view of the 4 political parties with regard to party suppers in the villages? In my view, they are a danger and a potential threat to political corruption, and only rich and powerful parties can afford to maintain this suppers. Therefore, should Bhutan continue to have village suppers, and how will this strengthen Bhutan's future democracy?
Yes, sir.
That's la.
Amyangzum, thank you so much for your question, la. I think we are talking about strengthening voices for democracy, and that in a way could understand as strengthening democracy as well. So anybody would like to answer Amyangzum's question? Should we need Tsokpas anymore, or should this question be left to the Election Commission?
I'll take a question.
Okay.
I think the issue is not whether we need or whether we do not need stockpiles on the ground. The issue is how best can we strengthen political party coverage and scope and support at the Dzongkha and the Gyok and the Chok levels. And of course, stockpiles have been sadly branded. Of course, BKP was unfortunate not being able to participate in the election, but I've been hearing hearsay whereby stockpiles are being branded as something very negative and something very corrupt, as Amyangson just mentioned. But I'm not sure whether we can really generalize that perspective or that conclusion or that hypothesis that she was trying to convey, because on a practical note, it would be inevitable without having people at those levels. Whether you call it Tsokpas or whether you call it Japchorpas, whether you call it legal or whether you call it not legal, it would still, I think, prevail, and it would be there. So whether Election Commission or whether we here as panelists or as people watching this program views it to have it or not have it, on a practical note, I think it will still exist.
Yes.
Particularly if parties have a lot of resources. That would be Amyangzom's feedback from my side. Now, I'm just curious about the lady and the gentleman's views that just raised earlier. I think she raised a very important issue in terms of employment, or rather unemployment, that she's been here for 2 months and she's looking for a job. So therefore, it is your responsibility, it is your voice to raise to the government, in this case PDP, but through proper legal forums, through proper legal channels. Because to be fair enough, it's just barely 6 months that they've been in power, and it requires time. And solving unemployment, if viewed by a global lens, would be peanuts. But for our context, it's quite a demanding task. I must respect PDP's mandate. But nonetheless, you should keep reminding, not just unemployment, including development, including poverty, so on and so forth. It is your job to remind the government through the ruling and the opposition. Otherwise, your voices will not be heard. Now, on the gentleman's perspective on divisiveness, I think politics would only be divisive if we have unresponsible or irresponsible political parties. If political parties are responsible enough, then I don't see any room for divisiveness or partisanship, because it would not be legal to put the political party first. Even in the electoral laws, the country comes first beyond the political parties. The Taosam comes first beyond political parties. So therefore, it would be illegal to put the political party over the country or the nation. So in that case, one must have responsible political parties now and in the future.
Okay, thank you. Next caller online. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Sir, Dawala.
Yes, sir. So your introduction first.
So sorry. Sir, Dawala, I just want to call that thing. I want to emphasize on the same question, like one nation, one people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Is that it?
I'm calling from Nimma High School.
Okay.
Same question I want to emphasize.
Okay. Thank you so much. If you're going to ask the same question, I think we have had enough answers on this, not just from one. I think we had two panelists answer the same question. Maybe just a small correction. Mr. Somdapke mentioned about PDP government in power for last 6 months. I could see Honorable Foreign Minister. Okay.
It's not 6 months. To be precise, just about 2 months.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Nyima, you have been raising your hand.
Yes, I was just pondering over the question raised by Yang Zom. I think if we remember when our kings gave the power, actually the real power is in our secret vote, secret ballot. So we only have experiences twice, 2008 and 2013. Politics is a game of perception. It's just my assumption. It may be true, it may not be true. But since politics is a game of perception, I remember in 2008, since PDP started first, there was a perception that PDP has Dzongkha everywhere. But if you look by the result, DPT won by landslide victory, maybe power of secret vote. 2013, because DPT had been incumbent government, the perception was DPT Dzongkha everywhere. But if you look by the result, if you believe in power of secret vote, PDP won by landslide victory. So from that perspective, I think if we believe that the real power is in a secret vote, the Dzongkha is still debatable. I agree that we still need Dzongkhas to advocate, to disseminate informations. But if you think that real powers are in Dzongkha, that may be misconception. In one sentence on the concern about the divisive policy, one nation, if you all think we are a Buddhist first, when you go around, we used to say that before the elections, I'm a candidate of Duk Nyamdo Sopa, candidate of PDP, candidate of DPT, but whoever got elected, you are to me, the representative of that constituency. You become the royal government. So if you believe from that perspective, I think we should be fine, it's normal.
Okay, thank you. Okay, views from the audience. To be heard, right? Okay. Maybe let me put this to Honorable Foreign Minister. Any particular programs or areas that people can just go and raise their voice or share their concerns with the government so that their problems get solved? Of course, one that you mentioned was Meet the People program.
I think that is the forum. In fact, in that forum, you can voice any kind of issues which the government would take up.
Can you use the microphone, please?
Is it held only in Thimpus, or are there any like
outside Thimphu?
Yeah, outside Thimphu, like if people can come and discuss on the open table and raise their concerns and issues
Okay.
about certain things.
Can people outside Thimphu be heard?
Yes, in fact, to begin with, we started in Thimphu because we have a lot of youth with problems in Thimphu. So later on, if this program becomes successful, we have actually planned that it will spread to other Dzongkha as well.
But now it's not sure, like, if you guys are gonna.
It will be sure.
It will be sure.
It depends on the success of the program that we undertake here.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Any other views? Any other views? Okay. Mr. Rinjamso, now, one area of danger that we might perceive is, while we progress, the fear is that people will share their voices because it's a democratic setup and people know that their voices should be heard. But while people share their voices, the danger or the fear is that there will be biased listeners. You know, parties will choose to listen to those people who supported them better than those who did not support them. That kind of biases might creep into our system. Do you see that danger? Or what should you do then,
This is
if it is imminent?
very important question. I think since we have viewers today through television and through radio, listeners, so actually see, we have this time, we have had 4 political parties, out of which 2 parties have come, one as a ruling government, one as an opposition. I think it is important for any parties to have a right kind of policy and attitude right after the elections. And in regard to DPT, as I submitted earlier and informed earlier, that DPT in our endeavor of governance has always ensured that people are not divided. Wherever possible, we have tried our best to reconcile it. And we had the policy of equity and justice from the right beginning. And even today, as an opposition, our policy of equity and justice will continue. And at the same time, as you would have seen in the parliament, as an opposition party, we have taken a stand. We will not be opposing just for the sake of opposing. We will make sure that wherever possible, example like youth unemployment, is one. We from our party also, we accord this highest priority for employment. We will support government in that endeavor wherever possible. So now, whether we will have people, the problems associated out of this thing will largely depend on how this government behave and present.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Finally, let's get a short view or maybe a final word from each of you. Maybe Mr. Samdamke first. How, okay, we have been strengthening voices in our democratic setup. Media is there, becoming vibrant and vibrant day by day, doing their business. And as well as people are heard, people share their views. But do we need to do more to strengthen the voices of the people, especially those whose voices are not heard?
I think it would be critical to empower grassroots people to gather critical mass in terms of knowledge, in terms of empowerment, in terms of awareness, in terms of democracy. So therefore, we need the essentials of democracy in terms of collective knowledge, collective wisdom, and collective empowerment.
Thank you. Mr. Rinjamso, final word?
I think, as rightly pointed out by Mr. Sonam here, empowering people in every aspect of life is, I think, tool to democracy.
Honorable Foreign Minister.
Our constitution provides adequate rights and responsibilities, and that if we can translate into the right kind of voices, I think that is what democracy is all about.
So, maybe before I move to Mr. Nyimasring, I have a final word from a member of the audience. Sir, briefly.
I'm inspired to ask question to the Honorable Prime Minister here and the representative of the opposition. I have a small practical question to celebrate today's day, International Day for Democracy. People like me, for example, we live in Thimphu, we pay taxes. I might grow old and die here in Thimphu, but we can never vote here. So as a ruling and the opposition, how would you look at this kind of voices, which I think it's not really heard? This is my question for tonight.
Okay, thank you. final word from Mr. Nyuma Sering, and then let's see if we have enough time to talk about this.
Yes. I think when you talk about strengthening the people's voices, be it government, be it opposition, be it political parties, I think we should go to where people are. And I'm surprised that we didn't mention the power of social media. 82,000 figures, 82,000 Bhutanese, or those in Bhutan, are on the Facebook. 560,000 people, Bhutanese, use mobile phones. That is 78% penetration. It will increase as the year goes by. And be it call it anonymous, call it otherwise, all the discussions, things are going there. And I think it's important. I think new government or parties already paying attention. It's important that you go where people are, because people are not going to, in a democratic society, it's difficult for people to come forward. You have to go and where the voices are, says Shunila. And if you do that, that's why you can strengthen.
Okay, finally, Honorable Foreign Minister or Mr. Rinjam, so one of you, if you could react to what Mr. Kama just said. Or should we leave it to the Election Commission?
If that is so, he might not be satisfied, actually. My view is, in fact, you have actually used your rights of being in Thimphu, but you haven't thought about using your responsibilities by going to your constituency and vote for the person actually you have the confidence. That's what rights and responsibilities are for.
Okay, thank you. I think this debate will go on and on, but we are done with the time. So another apology for all our viewers. Every time we'll end up saying we are running short of time, but this time again, we are running short of time. That's a fact, can't avoid it. It's inevitable. Anyways, we would like to move forward. Until we bring our next show, I think it's time to say good night, Tashidele. And for now, let's share our voices collectively, rather than raising our voices. Raising our voices would sound a little revolutionary, as I said earlier. Let's share our voices and do what we can do a bit to have this democratic process take deeper roots in our society. Thank you so much for watching People's Voice. It's time to say good night. Thank you. Thank you.